Yo, what's going on, movie fans? And I just got back from watching The Woman in the Yard, and I have a lot of thoughts to say about this film because, quite frankly, this is probably the most controversial Blumhouse film that's come out in recent times, and for good reason. So, The Woman in the Yard is the newest horror film, in quotations, from Blumhouse, and I won't lie, in my opinion, it's probably the most interesting premise they've come up with for a long, long time, probably since The Black Phone, in my opinion. Because Blumhouse, let's be real, the last few Blumhouse films have been absolute stinkers. I had a lot of fun with Imaginary because of how dumb it was. Afraid was horrendous, and in my opinion, Night Swim was the worst out of the lot of them. So Blumhouse has not had the greatest track record when it comes to horror films of recent years. But of course, with every Blumhouse film you get, you're bound to get at least one half good one. And that's for the likes we had. In my opinion, I like the FNAF movie because I'm a massive FNAF fan, of course. And of course, you got the Black Phone. Of course, one of my favorite horror films of all time is Sinister. So Blumhouse do have quality in there. However, with the likes of the Wolfman, yeah, we have some issues. However, The Woman in the Yard is the newest one to come from Blumhouse, and of course, it's probably one of the most intriguing premises yet. And yes, the title is correct. The woman does sit in the yard. But yeah, that's pretty much the main premise of this film. However, the director of this film is what really intrigued me to see what this film was going to be like. Purely because this is the same director as the House of Wax remake. And as someone who actually really likes that remake, how fun it is, I was really intrigued to see what they could do with a PG 13, no surprise with Blumhouse, movie yet again. And I gotta say, the use of shadows in this film is really, really good. The Woman in the Yard has some really, really good lines. I think the actress who portrays her is very, very talented in those sort of line deliveries that we see in the trailer. So it is really, really cool in the fact that there is some level of horror there. For the likes of Imaginary and Afraid and Night Swim, not much horror. For The Woman in the Yard, it is fairly good when it comes to horror. I'll give it that. The tension building is quite decent. However, I gotta say, Blumhouse has a really big issue with writing nowadays when it comes to teenage characters. Now, I'm gonna say with Woman in the Yard, the kids in this film are just literally a carbon copy of the teenager from Imaginary because they are just this angsty teen who have to have everything wrong with the parent that they are left with. For example, in Imaginary, it's the woman on her own because the husband goes off to a gig, and in this case, the woman in the yard, there is a car crash to which the husband dies in, and the mother is mainly just not stationary for the whole film, so she's got a broken leg. So when it comes to this, obviously it's the mother on her own with the two kids, and of course the older kid has to constantly be on her back. However, when it comes to the end of this film, I gotta say, I had a lot of issues with the actual ending of this film, and I'll do that at the end because I'll leave it for spoilers. Because if you do want to go watch The Woman in the Yard, yeah, go watch it. However, I did think this movie did drag a bit. Like, I would not be suggesting to, like, eagerly go out and watch this film because it's not outstanding, in my opinion. And I gotta say, the hate this film's been getting, especially for the ending, in my opinion, is pretty warranted. And I'm going to be honest, when it comes to this film, it kind of just suffers from just being boring. The premise is interesting, but what they do with the premise just doesn't really change. This woman literally sits in the yard and gets just slowly closer each day. Like, literally slowly closer. And yeah, I guess that's suspenseful in some ways, but to be honest, as someone who's watched way scarier things, that's not going to scare me. And I'll be honest, I could genuinely believe most people who have never watched a horror film before could go into this film and go, you know what, that wasn't that scary at all. And that's an issue with Blumhouse, in my opinion. Their films just haven't been scary enough. But I'm just going to talk about the ending right now because I'm about like 5 minutes into recording and this isn't going to be a long, long review. I'm going to give my spoiler free overall review right now, and that is if you are intrigued by the premise, go check it out. It will probably disappoint you though. I would not recommend, rush to the cinema to go and see this, in my opinion. Do not rush to go and watch it. However, it's okay. It's literally just mid, and the ending is what I would really worry you about because the ending, which I will talk about now in spoilers, has some really heavy themes, goes places I was shocked to see, by the way, and can really, really trigger a lot of people. So I really do urge you to possibly check out the themes of the ending before going in, just purely in the fact of what the themes are in this film, because there's dark and then there's the way this story ends. That's a different level of disturbing and just overall craziness, which I'm about to get into in spoilers right now. So here's your spoiler warning. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers are about to be said. So The woman in the yard, why she is there, that is the question, right? Who is she? What's the threat? And I'm just going to say it straight up. The woman in the yard is a metaphor for the grief and overall depression that's slowly inching closer and closer towards the mother because she's lost her husband and what's going on at home. And this ending was really confusing in a way until you realize what actually happens. And throughout this film, there's kind of this backwards writing and there's ways of like saying, oh, is this real? Is that real? And there's a lot of confusing nature about it. However, the way this film ends is the woman in the yard slowly showing the mother of their kids, that the woman's kids have had great lives, have had gone on to have live great successful lives, all because of one thing. Because at the end of this film, the mother offs herself, and because of that, the rest of her family have a good life. The woman in the yard in this film is basically displaying that if you take yourself out of the equation, the people around you will be better. Now, I'm just going to say this straight up, as honest as I possibly can. That message is a disgrace of a film message I've ever seen. Whoever thought of that ending, realistically, for people who have gone through that level of tragedy in life, and that's the movie, and that's the message you're trying to convey through that movie, that is some of the most daft, disrespectful, and overall disgraceful messages in film. Don't get me wrong, there are certainly films out there that you could go, oh yeah, they went too far, you're probably just being a bit too harsh. Yeah, fair enough. For example, I'm going to use Terrifier. People were going mental about how Terrifier went and, killed kids in that film. In my opinion, there's going there, but then there's going here. A worldwide issue, and a huge issue at that, and the message you convey is what I've just said. How disrespectful is that? I'm sorry, because if you read into that message, it is so dark. And for a film as bland and as plain as this to just kind of go poof, there you go, there's your ending, in my opinion, that's disgusting. And as someone who's definitely been closely encountered with things of that nature when it comes to people around me, that is something that really hit home to me, and something that I was kind of like, wow, you had the audacity to go there. Yeah, and of course, some people will probably go, yeah, fair enough. They had the balls to go there, fair play to them. No, I think there's ways of doing it in that way, and there's ways of conveying a message, and that message specifically is just not okay. I'm sorry. You might say this is a harsh review, but that literally annoyed the hell out of me coming out of this film, and it ruined the whole film for me. As someone who's, got two younger siblings, and it's stuff like that, how I would want them to kind of like be confident in themselves, how to that mental health, there's a way out of it, there's a healthy and sufficient way of just building on your own self and building and working on your own self to kind of make yourself feel better and build yourself to be a better person. And there's films like this that convey a message of if you end it all, it will be better. That's a disgrace to the film industry, if you ask me. And I gotta be honest, as someone, as I've mentioned, as someone who's been closely encountered with mental health and stuff like that, I think this film has just really, really daftly done this way of ending and conveying this message that just completely ruined all aspects of this film. There was really cool elements in the start of this film, the shadows specifically, the acting is okay, but I gotta be honest, the way this film ends really leaves you with a sour taste in your mouth, and in my opinion, that's not how you should end the film. An ending of a film is literally, it will either ruin it or make the film, or just be like, oh, okay, it could have been better. This film is completely ruined by this ending. I'm telling you right now, the ending has pissed me off so much. It has ruined the film completely. And I gotta be honest, it's really disappointing because this film had a lot of potential if it continued to be somewhat better, if it took a different approach. Because there is some cool stuff in here. Don't get me wrong, it's not amazing, but it's definitely a lot better than other Blumhouse films. But I gotta be honest, this film, the way it ended, was a disgrace in my opinion. It just honestly just really, really pissed me off, and it built me to hate this film. I didn't want to make a review that is full of criticism because this film is okay. There is some really redeeming elements to this film, but that ending has just really left me with this feeling towards this film of something where I will never watch this film again. I will probably never talk about this film in a nice way in regards to the ending. I mean, there's just something about this film that has left a real sour taste in my mouth. And I guess for some people they might go, well, that's what horror does sometimes. It really does leave a sour taste in your mouth, which I can get with with some level of themes. There's ways of going about that level of storytelling, and it's even really hard to talk about because there's so much wrong with that ending, in my opinion, that the message is all convoluted. I just really don't like it. This film, literally, first half was really boring. Some elements were decent. That ending completely ruined it. I would not exactly, again, I'll say the same thing I did in the spoiler free part of this video, that I would not be rushing to go and watch this film. However, if you do want to go watch it, go ahead, be my guest. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. If you have seen it or if you're going to go and watch it, come back to this video and let me know what you thought about it. But just if you have not seen this film, because it really did trigger me, so it may trigger you as well. So just be very wary of that. I would be very, very wary going into that section of the movie as well. But yeah, if you have seen The Woman in the Yard, do let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. If you like anything to do with movies, make sure to smash the like button down below. Make sure to subscribe as well. I promise the rest of my reviews are not as critical as this one. I mean, most of my reviews are actually pretty positive, to be honest, so I can promise you that. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope you did enjoy. Of course, again, let me know what you thought of The Woman in the Yard in the comments below, and I'll check you in the next one. Of course, stay safe and peace.